Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth. And salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath that may listen. May the blessing of election be over your house. My name is Brother Rafai. I'm back in here with another lesson. And for today's lesson, it's going to be a bit more of an exhortation video I came across while I was watching one of the elders' pages, videos on his page in South Carolina. And it's titled, Don't Be a Niggard. Right? So I know sometimes that might be a little easier said than done for some of us, because, sometimes we're in situations. But what I want to do is play this video that I stumbled across, and it's just to show, this is how we are not to be, and what the scriptures say about, people who behave very niggardly, right? So without further ado, let's jump right in.
Los Angeles is the third biggest homeless population in the United States, and today it's my job to make sure there's one less hungry person on the streets. Hey, excuse me, sir. Hey, I was wondering, are you hungry by any chance, man? All right, man, I got you. Would you like a Baconator, fries, a drink? Is that cool? All right, what's your name, man? Israel. God bless you, Israel. I got you. I'll be right back, man. Yeah, what's up, Israel? Yeah, man, I got you a Sprite, large fries, Baconator, man. So I want you to enjoy this. Los Angeles, California.
All right, so as you can see, the young man in the video, who claims to be trying to help the homeless problem, he would be a definition of a niggard, right? Because he claims to have had the intent to actually try and help the homeless person, but his actions proved the complete opposite, right? On top of that, he's mocking him for his situation. So let's get what the scriptures say in regards to this kind of behavior. Actually, hold on. Let me, let's get the word niggard. Okay, so this is niggard in the etymology. Mean or stingy person. Let's see if there's anything else down. Stingy, and niggardly person. Stingy, okay. What else do we got? Okay, so yeah, so somebody's stingy, so right? So, because in the video, you can see that clearly. I mean, I don't know his whole financial situation, but he clearly had the means and the resources to actually help, the homeless man, but he didn't do that. He did the complete opposite, right? And this is the kind of behavior that we should not do. This man he's a lowlife and a degenerate, referring to the person who claims to have had the intent to actually help this homeless man, but he's not. He's a niggard, right? So let's get what the scriptures say in regards to people like him. Okay, so this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 31. Let's start at 23. Whoso is liberal of his meat, men shall speak well of him, and the report of his good housekeeping will be believed. Verse 24. But against him that is a niggard of his meat, the whole city shall murmur. So talking ill of him. And his testimonies of his niggardness shall not be doubted of. Right? So someone who is very giving, when it talks about liberal, his meat, so the things that they have, their possessions, resources, whether money, time, whatever it is, that can be referred to as meat, their food, whatever it is, people will speak well of him, right? People speak well of some people who are very well giving, right? But somebody who is a niggard, they're very stingy. They're they don't want to give anything. They always want to hold on to what they have, and so on and so forth. The people will murmur and speak ill of him. The people will bring up a very bad report of you, and this is the kind of behavior that you want to stay away from, right? And a lot of that is a consequence, of our people, being in this captivity, and we're not showing that a lot of our people don't show that love and care for one another, right? It's a scripture in John that says, "And then you shall know who are my disciples, by the way you love and you treat each other," to roughly paraphrase, right? But our people don't have that love and care for one another, right? So the scriptures also say that riches are not comely for a niggard, right? So this man is in a position to be able to help this homeless man, another, I'm assuming the guy's an Israelite, right? You're in a position to actually help this this older man, but you don't do it, right? So the riches are not profiting. They don't profit anything when they're given to somebody like you, given to somebody like him, right? You're just a niggard, you're just a waste of time, right? Because if someone else has more substance, the riches are more beneficial to somebody who can share that with somebody else, right? Because that's what scriptures also say, money is a defense, right? Because it needs to be used. You don't just hold on to these things, right? Let's get the law, right? Okay, so this is Leviticus chapter 19, verse 9, and it reads, "When ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest." Okay, so before I continue, let's get gleanings. Get a bit of a more understanding of what that is. Okay, so here it says to gather by acquisition, scrape together. Okay, especially grains left in the field after harvesting, right? So after the harvest is complete, so what's remaining, I guess people would call it leftovers. That would be considered the gleanings, right? So verse 10, and it reads, "And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither thou shalt gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord Yahweh, your power." Right? So this is what the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has instructed us to do. This is part of our culture. This is part of our wisdom and sight in wisdom and sight of the other nations, like it says in Deuteronomy. That we have this system, we have this law put in place, for people who are strangers and people who are poor, right? Because not everybody's well off, right? And what do we do in this captivity is we rehearse the righteous acts, and this kind of act is not righteous at all, right? This is not going to win. What the man did in the video, this does not win you brownie points with the Most High, right? And I'm going to get a scripture at the end to exemplify what would bring you those brownie points, so we can have Bashem Yoshai, right? So just bear with me on this, right? First, the next I want to get is an example of someone who had the riches, right? So this account is in 1 Samuel chapter 25. I'm going to start at 2. I want to read a couple precepts and then interject wherever. Okay, so I want to start at 2. "And there was a man in Maon, whose possessions were in Carmel, And the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel, right? And now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife was Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb, right? So let's jump back. Let's get what churlish is. Okay, so here it says pertaining to churls, deliberately rude, surly, sullen, right? Okay, there's another point I saw down here I wanted to get. Okay, here it says fellow of low birth or rude manners, common man, right? So let's go back. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep, and David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal and greet him in my name. And thus shall ye say to him that live in prosperity, be peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now my shepherds, which were which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them, all the while they were in Carmel. Verse 8. Ask thy young men, and they will show thee. Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes. For we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand unto thy servants and to thy son David. Right? I want to read that in the NLT really quickly. And it says, ask your own men, and they will tell you this is true. So would you be so kind to us, since we have come at a time of celebration? Please share any provisions you might have on hand with us and with your friend David, right? So David sends just to provide some context. So David sends a couple of young men, to go see Nabal. Okay, you tell them, this is I'm being sent from David, right? They they brought up a good report, and this time and after this is the time that David had a very good reputation, because this is after he slays Goliath, right? And then so now David is in a situation where he's still being persecuted by Saul, if you read a couple of chapters before, and then he's asking for some of Nabal's resources, so to speak, right? Okay, I want to read it in the NLT at verse 10, and when I read the point about it says that he's a man of rude and doesn't have manners, right? So it says Slakia, who is this fellow David? Nabal sneered to the young men. Who does this son of Jesse think he is? There are lots of servants these days who run away from their masters. So right then and there, Nabal is trying to dismiss David's credibility, because at this point David actually had a reputation, right? Should I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to a band of outlaws who come from who knows where, right? So Nabal here and then is trying to slander David and bring up an evil report, right? So just bear with me on this. I'm going to get to the point. So at this point, when you read a little lower down, David, straps on his, he tells his men, get ready, right? So because now David wants to get physical, right? So when you read further down, okay, I want to read verse 18, and I believe next is 25. And verse 18, and it reads, Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine, 5 sheep ready dressed, 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. Right, so his wife kind of essentially what she did was she intercepted this whole situation, and then did her best to fulfill David's request, right? Because he wanted him to share some of his provisions, but Nabal got very, very defensive and tried to tarnish David's name, right? Okay, so I believe it's verse 25. I know Nabal is a wicked and ill-tempered man. Please don't pay any attention to him. He is a fool, just as his name suggests. But I've never even saw the young man you sent, right? So she did what she could, and she did her best to actually intercept and help David in that situation, right? Because Nabal actually had the provisions to actually help David, but he didn't want to, right? So the reason I wanted to bring this out is because it shows that sometimes we can even be put in those situations too, where we have these resources to actually help out another brother or help out family, right? What do we do with those kind of situations? What you don't do is, like I was reading in the story here, like what Nabal did, right? Eventually, when you read further down, the Lord essentially took him out, right? He has a stroke, right? So this was bad character on his part, right? So that's one of the reasons I just wanted to bring it out, to show the parallels, right? What do we do when we're in those sort of situations, right? Let's jump to the Apocrypha to make my last point. And okay, this is Tobit chapter 12 verse 8. The point's in 9. Prayer is good with fasting and alms and righteousness. A little righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than lay up gold, for alms doth deliver from death, and purge away all sin. Those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life. Right, so that is the kind of mentality, conduct that we should exemplify as Israelites, right? So anyways, hopefully this video was edifying. This concludes the end. I didn't want to make it a little too long, but I pray and hope that this video is edifying. And I just like to give all praises, glory, and all the honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone of teachings of truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.